Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. We hope you are safe and listening to us from the comfort of your home. Hurricane Florence is a monster storm, and her effects are being felt here in eastern Virginia and northeastern North Carolina. Safety always comes first, so we have asked our roundtable pundits to stay home with their families. They'll be back soon to talk about why it is so critical for all of us, and especially the African American community, to vote. Instead, today we'll give you the latest on Hurricane Florence, talk with officials about what they are doing to keep you safe, and hear from you on how you're weathering this storm. Stay tuned. Another View will be right back.
Discussing today's topics from an African American perspective, this is Another View.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Another View. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. Wow, what a week. From the threat of the direct hit from Hurricane Florence to the evacuation order for those of us living in Zone A, to the turning of the storm, to today's flooding and tornado warnings, this storm has dominated our lives, and our neighbors in North Carolina continue to deal with life-threatening weather. We here at Another View wish you and your family safety and hope that you are spared from damage to your homes, cars, and other property. So we want to hear from you this hour. What are you doing to weather the storm? Give us a call, 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. A couple of things have changed. I also want to let you know that producer Lisa Godley is sitting here with me. Well, actually, she's in the control room. I'm in the studio. Hey, Lisa.
Hi, I'm multitasking over here.
You are multitasking over there. We have a variety of folks that we're going to talk with just to get caught up on what's going on. I know many of you in the immediate area woke up and things were dry and things were different from what we had anticipated. However, there's still some bad weather going on out there, and we still need to make sure that we stay safe. So a couple of things to update you on. Governor Ralph Northam has lifted the mandatory evacuation order that had been placed for Zone A right after the National Weather Service also lifted the tropical storm warnings for our region. So it's just for this area right here. So that includes Hampton Roads. See, that's what happens when you try to use your phone and talk at the same time. Here we go. So that includes Hampton Roads, Eastern Shore, Northern Neck, and Middle Peninsula as of 10:45 this morning. What this means is that if you left, you can come back to your homes, but there is some threat of still coastal flooding and also tornadoes. So they still want you to check with your local area to make sure that it is safe before you jump on the highway. So that's what's going on this morning. The governor said the evacuation order has been lifted. We're going to go talk to Erin Sutton. She is the director of the Office of Emergency Management with the City of Virginia Beach to see what's going on there. Erin, good morning or good afternoon. And I know you also had a tornado warning in Southern Virginia Beach this morning.
Actually, we did. We had two for the Blackwater. I think first one's Blackwater, not Island. Second was just the Blackwater area. But both have been lifted now. But that's from the rain band from the storm coming through our area.
So we still will feel effects from Florence.
Yes, we're on the outskirts of the storm, but we're still going to feel a little bit of the storm as it moves through. It is moving south, so we're definitely, our conditions are improving throughout the day. Mm-hmm.
Have you had any major flooding in Virginia Beach at this point?
No, we have not. We've had at high tide, we've had some water on the roads, but that's about it. Nothing significant that is preventing entrance or exit from any neighborhoods in Virginia Beach.
Okay. And I also now I knew that Kellam High School was open as a shelter. Is it still open, or are you closing based on the governor and so forth?
We still have a little over 50 people in our shelter, and we are working on identifying if they need assistance to get home, or so we're working on that. We haven't made a decision as to when we'll be closing that shelter. We have closed our pet shelter as of noon today, and we had 4 or 5 animals there, and what we did was move them down to our animal care center because we had room there to help shelter.
Okay, and then those people are notified that their pet has been moved?
Yes, we've contacted all of the owners and let them know that that they could come get them, or we will move them down to the animal care center.
Okay. So, Erin, is there anything else that you'd like listeners to know, particularly those who are living in Virginia Beach, in terms of this weekend? Anything else they should be keeping in mind as we start to get back to normal living, quote unquote, as the storm has passed our area?
I think the biggest thing is just staying informed. We still are having isolated as we are on the outskirts of the storm, we can still feel some of those effects. So paying attention to the radio, your weather app, in case we have any further tornado watches or warnings for our area. That's something that comes with any severe storm, especially hurricanes, and we're on the side that does produce those tornadoes. So please stay informed with that. But also, as people are cleaning up, because we did have some wind blow through here, as people are cleaning up, just to be careful and watch out for branches that may be loose and things like that. Okay.
Thank you so much. That's Erin Sutton. She is the director of the Office of Emergency Management for the City of Virginia Beach. We appreciate you being on. Lisa, do we have Jim Reddick available?
Not yet.
Okay, so we're working on getting Jim in from the city of Norfolk, but there is flooding, coastal flooding. Some of the areas inside of Norfolk, and we're all very familiar with them, will continue to flood as if it were a thunderstorm or a normal rain event here in this area, but it doesn't look like we're going to have any major flooding going on. Apparently, the high tide prediction for 1:30 at Sewell's Point has now been lowered to 4.82 feet. So that's good news, particularly for us over here on Hampton Boulevard, where we want to make sure that we're able to get home after the show. So the roads are pretty open at this point. Travel is good, and we are working to have to make sure that we all still keep an eye out, pay attention to what's going on. But it looks like it's the kind of flooding that we're used to, sadly, here in the Hampton Roads area. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240 are the numbers to call. I know a lot of people, particularly in our area, say, well, we dodged a bullet. Well, people may have overreacted, but safety always must come first. So, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to know how you prepared for this storm. I'd love to know whether or not you would do the same things again. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Let's talk to Jim Reddick. He is the Director of Emergency Preparedness and Response for the City of Norfolk. Hey, Jim, you've been busy. Jim, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Good, I'm doing great. So what's the latest? The governor has lifted. I live in Zone A. The governor said people who did evacuate can come back. Is there anything that you want citizens to know, particularly who live in Norfolk and in Zone A, to pay attention to?
Sure. Well, and that's just it. The primary threat is over. We still have around this time, we're going to have a high tide, but it's at the minor flood stage, so it's nothing that we haven't seen together, as a community. But yes, we still have shelters open because there are folks who are under-resourced, and we're trying to make sure that they have the care that they need. But we're certainly consolidating our shelters, and yes, we're looking forward to going to business as usual.
Yeah, I guess so. So are you pleased with the responses and the efforts that the city put forth in terms of keeping people safe?
Very much so. And I want to be clear, it's not just the city. We have so many partners, nonprofit partners like Red Cross and Mercy Chefs, Operation Blessing, private sector partners, Verizon Wireless, Norfolk Public Schools, our higher education partners, the Navy. It's really fascinating and really awesome is a good word to see so many agencies come together with one unified mission.
Wow. Now, this is the first year that the zones were actually put into place. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yep.
Okay. And what in your initial thoughts on how this zone notification is working?
I thought it worked better than expected. I know that there were some hiccups with the state's KnowYourZoneVA.org website, but really to us that was a blessing in disguise because that allowed us to encourage folks to register for Norfolk Alert because we had the evacuation zones already defined in that system. So, as long as you register for Norfolk Alert, whether you can find your address on the zone list or not, you will get notified of the need to evacuate and where to go.
Absolutely. And people actually should go ahead and register for that now so that for the next storm, that's one less thing they have to worry about.
Absolutely. Thank you for that encouragement.
Absolutely. Can you tell us where they find that information again? And by the way, I did register, and the alerts came through really very clearly. They were succinct, and and I felt like I was totally kept up to date on what was going on.
That is super. That's great to hear. Folks can go to norfolk.gov, and there's a link at the bottom. There's a box that says Norfolk Alert. You just click on that. For those who don't necessarily rely on technology, they can always call the Norfolk Cares call center at 664-6510.
664-6510. That's the Norfolk Cares. Now, I know Norfolk had 4 shelters open. I believe you're getting ready to close some.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that
Actually,
right?
5. We had 5 open.
Okay.
But we're consolidating where it just doesn't make sense to maintain operations when there's only a couple people there. So we're looking at those shelters that we can close. We'll transport the individuals who still need shelter to those remaining sites.
Okay. Do you know which ones yet, or are you still working on that?
I don't have the list in front of me, so I don't want to tell you the wrong information.
Okay.
But I can get it, though.
Okay. No problem. Well, we know that you're very busy. So, Jim, thank you so much. And thank you to your staff and to everyone, all of your partners and everyone that pulled together to make sure that we were able to stay as safe as possible. We appreciate it.
And thank you, and thanks for what you do for our community.
Thank you. Take care. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Okay. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. What are you doing now? Are you eating your hurricane snacks? Because I know you bought a bunch of them. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Joining us now is the mayor of the city of Hampton, Mayor Donnie Tuck. How are you?
Doing well. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. How are things in Hampton?
Much better than we had thought they would be. But right now it's just starting to rain. Our projections are maybe 2 to 4 inches possibly of rain, very little wind. And actually, I think conditions last Saturday evening, Sunday morning were much worse than they are projected to be now. We had like 6 or 7 inches of rain and lots of flooding. Here, our concern was the midday tide forecast, and since it's going to be considerably lower than we anticipated, we will probably be closing our 2 shelters within the next couple of hours or so. We had up until about 113 people. I visit those between about 10 and 11 o'clock, and we had one that had a place for pets, but we're going to be closing those probably for the next couple of hours and bus those individuals back to places where they came, although some did drive vehicles.
Mm-hmm. So, Mayor Tuck, did a lot of people that were in Zone A in Hampton, did they evacuate, do you know, or did they stay in place?
Well, let me point this out that I'm also in Zone A, and I was out doing grocery shopping on Tuesday morning, and people were asking me, well, Mayor, you out here grocery shopping? I said, well, the mayor can't leave town. But I think, for the most part, a lot of folks sheltered in place, and that can sometimes have negative repercussions. I was looking at the stories this morning on Beaufort, North Carolina, and remembering...
Yes, and then New Bern, too.
Yes, New Bern, sorry. And remembering about 13 years ago when I did Hurricane Katrina relief down in Gulfport, Biloxi, Mississippi, and met this one gentleman who said he spent 8 hours clinging to the rafters in his attic of his one-story house. And I think there are a lot of people who think that they can ride these things out based on previous experiences. And unfortunately, it does not always work out well.
Yeah. First responders, mayors, those of us in the media, there are some people who just cannot evacuate. I also live in Zone A and did not have the option to leave. But we want to make sure that people understand that if that evacuation zone, if you live in the zone, you really should take that seriously.
Very much so. And we made an announcement at our council meeting on Wednesday that the part of the challenge is that when you start having the flooding and storm surge down power lines and trees, that you may have a medical emergency, or again, as it happened in New Bern, where something unexpectedly happens there, flood waters are higher than you anticipated, and you can't get out and people can't get to you. And so that's the danger. So if you have an opportunity to evacuate, you really should.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we thank you so much. We saw the pictures, or at least I did, this morning watching our partner station, WTKR, with a little bit of white caps on the Chesapeake Bay at Buckrow Beach, which is kind of interesting.
It's always interesting around here.
Definitely. But we're glad that people are safe, and we hope that they are continue to be safe. And thank you so much for giving us a call. We appreciate you.
You're more than welcome. Take care.
All right, you too. Take care. That's Mayor Donnie Tuck from the city of Hampton. Lisa, what's going on in the control room? Where are we going next?
We are going to talk to Donna Mills.
Okay. Donna Mills, who is the Chief Housing Officer for Norfolk Redevelopment and Housing Authority. Hello, Donna.
Hi, Barbara. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing wonderful.
Good. So how are the folks that, the residents of NRHA, of the communities that NRHA is responsible for, how have they weathered the storm?
They seem to have weathered it very well. We were very fortunate that we did not get the extent of the storm that we initially thought. Most of the residents sheltered in place. And everything seems to be good in our communities, and the residents seem to be fine.
Fantastic. Now, I'm surprised a little bit that Tidewater Gardens, which is famous for flooding, did not get flooded this time.
Yes, we were surprised as well. They had a little bit of water, but not anything like we normally get in a normal storm. We are looking at the afternoon tide at 12:30. So we're going to be looking at that. We have staff that's out in the property driving around, making sure that everything's okay. That's great. So if we get through that pretty good, I think we're going to be good for the rest of the weekend.
That's fantastic. And all the other properties, too, are doing okay. Donna, tell us some of the things that you all have to think about as, in the beginning of the week, as everyone was predicting that this storm was going to hit us head on, in terms of making sure that the most vulnerable of our population would be safe. What are some of the things that you had to think about and had to put into place?
Well, the biggest thing with any storm is information and getting it out early. And we really started our information sharing back at the beginning of hurricane season. So we got information out to all of our residents. We have over 3,000 residents in Norfolk about hurricane preparation. So they have this information well before this storm even started to form. And then as of Monday of this week, we had notices that were hand-delivered to every unit that we have residents in to let them know about things they needed to start doing to prepare. And then once the mandatory evacuation was enforced, we hand-delivered letters again to every one of those residents that were in those affected communities to let them know they needed to go ahead and start evacuation processes as well.
Because there were two public housing communities in Zone A. Is that correct?
Actually, there's three. There's Tidewater Gardens, Calvert Square, and Grandy Village.
Yeah, because all of those are around water. Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. So anything else that you would like in terms of, or one last question for you, in terms of transportation, I noticed that, I was posting some things to help people who may have had transportation issues if they wanted to leave. Others were also making provisions. Is that something that NRHA takes care of also, or are residents pretty much on their own?
No, ma'am. NRHA does not. We have van service, but those vans are not equipped to handle that. So what we do is follow the city's lead. So we provided the information for residents to contact Norfolk Cares if they needed transportation to a shelter.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. Thank you so much, Donna Mills. You stay safe this afternoon and enjoy your weekend.
Thank you, Barbara. You too.
Okay. Donna Mills is Chief Housing Officer for Norfolk Redevelopment and Housing Authority. Next, we're going to go to Benita Billingsley Harris with Dominion Energy. Did I get that right, Benita?
Yes, you did. Thank you, ma'am.
How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I love your show.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that so very much. So, what's going on in terms of the lights? I'm glad mine were on when I left this morning.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear it. We try our best. I tell you, things could be a lot worse, but we have definitely been experiencing an impact since about 6 o'clock last night. Overall, in our area of Hampton Roads and northern North Carolina, we've had about 8,600 customers that have been affected by power outages. And now we're down to 760.
Wow.
Most of the trouble has been in our North Carolina region offices, but we've also had some trouble in Hampton, Newport News, Virginia Beach, Norfolk. Those have been some trouble spots. But our crews have been working around the clock to get everyone restored as quickly and safely as possible.
So, Benita, is there a dividing line for Dominion Energy and Duke Energy in terms of North Carolina, or in situations like this, just everybody just all hands on deck, get it fixed?
But we do have certain offices, region that we are responsible for. We have about 120,000 customers in North Carolina that are our customers we're primarily responsible for. And then Duke, they have their customers. But we do help each other for sure. If we weren't affected, then we might be helping them and vice versa.
Right.
But since we still have many customers affected, we've got to focus on home before we can go and help anyone anywhere else.
So what would you advise people to do if they lose power? First and foremost, they need to contact you. Is that right?
Absolutely. And thank you so much for that reminder, because sometimes people think, oh, well, my neighbor called, so I don't have to call, or Dominion must already know that we're out. We absolutely need you to report your outage as soon as your power goes out. The easiest way to do it is right from your phone.
Yeah.
Just type in dominionenergy.com, and our mobile app will automatically come up. You can report your outage. You can check status of outages. You can see if there's an outage at your mama's house across town. You can see what's going on that way. And hopefully everybody's made sure all of their appliances or their electronics are charged up and everything. So if they do lose power, they can still have that access to that.
Absolutely. And I want to ask you an inside baseball question, and you may not be able to answer it, but I've always been curious about this. So how do you determine what gets turned on first?
Okay, no, that's a great question. First is always going to be our critical customers. And critical customers are those that meet the needs of public health, like hospitals, police, fire, water treatment facilities, those organizations that have to make sure everybody else is healthy.
Okay.
And then after that, we go for the power lines that have, there's other high-impact customers like schools, nursing homes. Some high-impact customers will then be next on the priority list, and they're always, considered a high priority. And then sometimes this is simultaneously. We're working on the lines that have the most customers on them first, so we can get as many people on as quick as possible, and then we work our way down to the rural areas where there may just be one or two people on a line.
On a line there. So do you start working during the storm, or do you have to wait until it's actually over? Like you were saying last night, there were a lot of people who were out of power, but so quickly you've gotten them all back up, or a majority of them back up.
There were periods last night where our crews could not work because the winds were so strong out in the Albemarle, by the Albemarle Sound area. They're very well trained to know when it's safe to work, and the wind condition is usually a huge factor. But as soon as it's safe to work, they go out, whether it's raining, snowing, whatever. Flooding can sometimes slow down the restoration process, and of course that's a big issue in our area.
Yeah.
But as soon as it's safe to go out, they go out as quickly as they can. And then we also had a lot of assistance. We had a lot of nearby utilities come in and help us from as far as Wisconsin and Texas. They came over, to make sure that they were available to help.
That's fantastic. Well, we appreciate all that you all and all of the workers and everyone at Dominion Energy, what you're doing to try to keep us with the lights on. It is so important, and to keep the energy flowing as best we can through these situations. And Mother Nature just does what Mother Nature does. So we have to let her do that and then get back to our regular living. So thanks so much, Benita Billingsley Harris with Dominion Energy. Appreciate your call. Appreciate talking to you.
Having me.
Take care.
Always.
Bye-bye. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. If you're just joining us, we're talking about your coping skills through Hurricane Florence, through everything that has happened this week. Give us a call, 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Stephanie joins us from Virginia, somewhere in Virginia. Hello, Stephanie. How are you?
Hi, Barbara. We're well in Zone B in Virginia Beach. And thank you so much for leading such a beautiful conversation community for the Tidewater residents. We love you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. What have you been doing to ride out the storm? What do you think about all the things that were put in place? And, thank goodness we didn't need a lot of it, huh?
Right. I think it's such a great fire drill for all of us. What I think we all need to remember is we're first responders to our neighbors. So that means talking to the people in your neighborhood who are less mobile or have less resources than you do. And that starts, Monday and Tuesday with, hey, can I help you move your outdoor furniture inside? Can I go to the store for you, get you the water? And asking if they want you to check in on them. And it seems to, for the elderly, it seems to put their children in other states at ease. And it gives us something productive to do and just a good reminder that we're a community and, we're the closest first responder if something devastating does happen.
Stephanie, you bring up such a good point because, I'm here. My mother is in Baltimore, she's 82 and lives alone. And thinking of if this storm were going that way, the fact that a neighbor would be checking in on her, just as you suggested, you're right, would put my mind really at ease.
Yeah, so now's the time to make sure your neighbors have your phone numbers and things of that nature and do that. So thanks so much, Barbara. This is such a great conversation today.
Thank you. Take care, and thanks for calling. We appreciate it. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Let's check in with Miles Henderson, meteorologist over at our partner station, WTKR News 3. And Miles, what's going on with the weather at this point? How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm busy, but good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good.
Good. So the center of the storm made landfall this morning in Wilmington, North Carolina, and now it's just very slowly drifting towards South Carolina, kind of drifting towards Myrtle Beach. But it's such a large storm that we're still dealing with the impacts from it. So we're still going to see these bands of rain that move in, so on again, off again rain with some storms mixing in. We're still going to see these very persistent winds. They're not going to be hurricane strength. They're not even going to be tropical storm strength, but they're going to be very steady from the east. And what that's going to do is give us the threat for some tidal flooding. And for many locations across Hampton Roads, we're approaching high tide right now. So those water levels are already starting to go up. And because that east wind is going to stay very consistent over the next few days, it's going to keep that threat. And so we're going to see some tidal flooding right around the early afternoon. Levels will go down as we get to low tide. Overnight, we're going to see another high tide, so we'll see the same thing again. And that pattern will repeat Saturday and Sunday, but very slowly going down. This is going to be one of those where, we've had our first sort of landfall, the first big hit from it, and now we're going to be left with these very slow leftovers over the next couple of days.
But the tropical storm warning has been lifted, correct?
It has. For Hampton Roads area, the tropical storm warning has been lifted. The only thing we still have out there right now is we have a coastal flood warning, and that's for that tidal flooding that I mentioned.
Okay. And the tidal flooding, do you anticipate it being worse than the normal thunderstorms that we deal with it here in the Hampton Roads area or of that variety?
It's different. With a thunderstorm, a lot of times you get flooding due to a lot of rain in a short amount of time or because of poor drainage. It's just a spot where the storm drain is clogged. This is different because it's not so much because of the rain, but it's because of those winds pushing all the water from the ocean and the bay up into the tributaries, and that makes those water levels rise.
Right.
So instead of coming from the rain aspect, it's coming from the other angle, so it's coming up from our tributaries. So it's going to be some of our communities like you see in downtown Norfolk, some of our communities in Pocosin and Hampton and Portsmouth and along our waterways back towards Surrey and Jamestown and Suffolk. Those are the folks who live right on the water that are going to see the problem.
And my producer, Lisa Godley, she has a question. Go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah, Miles, I was just wondering about how long that would be before we started seeing that water coming up out of those tributaries that you were talking about.
Well, we're seeing it right now. We're approaching high tide right now for many of our locations right in Hampton Roads. So Sewell's Point is one of the most popular gauges that we use, and that impacts Norfolk and Portsmouth and Hampton right there. And we're approaching high tide right now. And so just outside of our News 3 studio, we can see those water levels coming up right now.
Lake Only strikes again.
That's it. It's back again.
Well, we saw that you we were watching you and the team this morning when the tornado warnings were out. Should we or could we expect more tornado warnings, or are we out of that danger?
We can still expect that. There's a tornado watch in effect for parts of North Carolina that goes till later this afternoon, this evening. We could still see that. And that's one of those almost hidden threats with tropical systems, because everybody's so focused on the hurricane, the tropical storm, and the storm surge and the wind. There's an aspect with that chance for tornadoes that we oftentimes overlook, or that a lot of people tend to forget about, but it's still a threat. And the best way to think about that is, a hurricane is basically a really big spin in the atmosphere. And when you have that much spin in the atmosphere, you can see smaller spins spin off. And that's when we can get that threat for tornadoes in the outside bands, right where we are. Those outer bands is where you can sometimes see that isolated tornado pop up in some of those heavier downpours and thunderstorms.
I see. Okay. Well, Miles, I know you've been busy. I know you guys have been spending the night and working really, really hard. We really appreciate all of the information that you bring us so that we can stay safe. So thank you very, very much.
You're welcome. Happy to share the information with you.
All righty. You take care now. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Sandra joins us from Portsmouth. Hi, Sandra. You're on the air.
Oh, yes. I just wanted to say that we are truly, truly thankful to God, because it could have been so much worse. And prepared us for the next one. If we have a next one this season, that most people already have the supplies now, and they can be prepared for the next event.
Absolutely. What did you do to get ready?
Oh, I did a lot. I have a lot of trees in my yard. So basically, I got my flashlight, chainsaws, and things of that nature, just in case. Like I said, it's just God is just amazing. We just need to praise Him.
Absolutely. We really came very, very close this time. And I hope that people will just stay vigilant, because there will be other storms coming. Thanks so much for the call, Sandra. We appreciate it. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Sven, I hope is the name, joins us from Gloucester. Hi, Sven. You're on the air.
Hello, Barbara. It's good to talk with you. And I always enjoy your show, and sometimes I wish you were on more days than just one day a week.
Well,
but
thank
you for all you do.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Well, good. I was asking about mandatory evacuation zones. I know my zone. I'm in a Zone A place, and then the issue came out from the governor saying there's a mandatory evacuation. So when I hear mandatory, I think, okay, I have to leave. But then my county was sending out good messages, and they're real good about keeping us informed. But they're saying, the police are not going to show up and make you leave. And so what do the officials mean when they say a mandatory evacuation?
Okay, now, because I had the same question. So what I was told is that mandatory evacuation is to let you know that you should evacuate if at all possible, because there is a danger there. But you always have the right to stay in your home. So you don't have to leave. But they are encouraging you to leave because there's imminent danger. And so if you don't leave, one thing that you have to realize is that if you need help, you may or may not get it, because it depends on, they're not going to put the first responders in danger, to be able to go and get you. So it's something you have to keep in mind. And the first responders will try their best to get there, but there's no guarantee. If there is a mandatory evacuation, there's no guarantee that they're going to be able to come and help you should you need help later on.
Yeah, I get that, and our county was real good about telling us that messaging, saying we're not going to come to your door and drag you out, but also if there is conditions, we are going to focus on other areas where we can help people, because we've given you good warning. But I guess it's that word mandatory, because when I hear that, I think if it's mandatory that I have to do something, I think, well, there's consequences if I don't. And,
exactly.
And so that was my confusion. I was like,
I agree with you, Sven, because when I first heard it too, because I live in Zone A, and I was going, well, what does that mean? I mean, what's going to happen? What is the penalty if I don't evacuate? Because I knew, being a broadcaster, we'd have to be here. So my understanding is it's really to encourage people to just move forward and go to safer ground, but they cannot make you leave your home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
I appreciate it. Thanks for calling. Take care now. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. I believe we have Dave Forster from VDOT, Virginia Department of Transportation, on the phone. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Dave. And what's going on the highways now, especially now that Zone A has been, or evacuation of Zone A has been lifted? Do you expect a lot of traffic coming back into the Hampton Roads area?
I think that's reasonable to expect, but right now it's still very light out there as far as the traffic goes on the interstates. Everything is flowing well. Mm-hmm. We don't have any working crashes to tell people about. So right now it's light out there, and all the state roads are open.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask you a question that a lot of people had a big rumor that was going around, and that was that during the storms that the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel, for example, would be closed. Is that true or not?
That was not true. We heard that rumor a lot, and thanks to WHRV and the other news outlets, they were very helpful in helping us get the word out that was an incorrect rumor. We only close a road if there's an imminent danger to the motoring public. We don't have any set wind restrictions where, say, if the winds get to 45 miles an hour, we're going to shut down the HRBT. We don't have that policy. We look at flooding, many other variables, at which point we would monitor a crossing more closely. But there was never a plan to shut down the HRBT or any of the other crossings.
And I'm wondering if people think that because we know there are floodgates there, because the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel has wind restrictions and other restrictions at times, but that's a much larger span of water also that it's crossing.
Right, yeah. So, I mean, it's understandable that people get confused. We have so many water crossings here, and like you said, the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel does have that wind restriction, and traffic is reduced at times there. So we also had tide gate testing at the HRBT in preparation for the storm, where we did have to stop traffic for a couple of hours early, around 1 a.m. on Tuesday morning. So that could have fed into people's misinterpretation of things. So, it's tough when stuff gets going out there, especially on social media. We were asking people where they were hearing it from, and it was often, I heard from somebody, so people are kind of spreading it. We asked people to clarify, and we did our best to try to get the word out and tell people what is and what isn't happening.
And I noticed in our neighbors to the south, particularly South Carolina, when they did the reverse lane evacuation, and that seemed to be, from news reports, seemed to work very well. We didn't have to put that into place at this time, but are there lessons learned or things that you all were watching so that should we ever have to put that into place here in Hampton Roads that you would pay attention to?
Well, yeah, that decision comes from the governor's office. Right. It has to be made, sometime before the storm. So here that didn't happen, but after, even on down to the local level, we always do a review after the case to do just exactly what you said about what lessons did we learn and what might we do differently, and that goes all the way up to the top throughout the state here. So we are in a position, fortunately, to look toward other agencies and see how they responded as well. And we'll definitely be doing that once, as it appears, this threat has passed.
Okay. Any other advice or things you want to let people know in terms of the roads for this weekend and as everyone comes back and tries to get back to normal?
Right. Everybody just be patient out there. We're going to, work with traffic to make it move as efficiently as possible back into Hampton Roads. We have a fully staffed safety service patrol out there. That includes 15 trucks, and those are the people who help with disabled vehicles and other problems to get people on the way. So we will keep traffic moving. We did, just as of about noon today, the 64 express lanes between 564 and 264. That was changed back to eastbound traffic to facilitate that movement. So, we'll keep doing what we can to help people get home.
Okay. Thank you so very much. We appreciate it, Dave. You stay safe this weekend. And
Thank you so much for having us.
All right. Take care. That's Dave Forster with VDOT. So 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Elena joins us from Norfolk. Hi, Elena. You're on the air.
Thank you for taking my call. Your show is excellent.
Thank
I was calling because I wanted to make sure that the city of Norfolk got kudos for their response. I used the 211 and the Norfolk Cares numbers. They were excellent. They were able to answer all the questions, and they were very, very patient.
Oh, that's
I will
fantastic.
also register with this Norfolk Alert.
Yes.
So I'm going to take care of that. There were lots of good suggestions, and I'm going to be following all that. My one little question to whatever city officials are listening or state officials, one of the questions no one seemed to be able to answer. I was under the understanding that Williamsburg was not really high ground. Richmond wasn't really that much either. Even D.C., in asking around in terms of an area to go to. So if there could be, and maybe I should know this, but I don't, some clarification about higher ground and what does that, where is that, and what does it constitute?
So you'd like to know where to go.
Yeah, because I'm in Section A also.
Okay.
And I wanted to leave, but it involves logistics. And if you're going to go somewhere, get reservations, whatever it is you need to do, or if you're going to a friend or whatever. But where is this higher ground? It sounded like heaven or something.
Well, Elena, one of the things that I found out as I learned that I was in Zone A also was that even if you went to a friend's house who was in Zone B, C, or D, it would have been safer than staying in A. Is their point. So you don't necessarily even have to leave the area. But those of us who live in these low-lying areas where flooding is really a problem, their whole point was just leave that area and go someplace else where it doesn't flood as much.
Right.
So that's something else for you to think about. So you don't necessarily have to leave in the entire state, but you can even go to some of the other zones where flooding is not as prevalent.
Right. I was told that, and I appreciate that. I was thinking in for a penny, in for a pound. If you're going to move, go ahead, because the idea was they may also be issued warnings.
True. And that is a good point. That is a very good point. So, I will pass that information on, and hopefully we've got city leaders listening. I'm sure we do, and that they will take your advice. Thanks so much for the call. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All righty. Take care. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. What are you going to do now that the kids are home, now that you've got all these hurricane snacks? What are you doing to get through the rest of the weekend? Let's have some fun with this. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Susan joins us from Virginia Beach. Hi, Susan. You're on the air.
Thank you for taking my call. I live a block from the boardwalk, 36 feet above sea level, on the first floor of a two-story apartment building. And I did not bother to have cable TV connected after Trump was elected president because I wanted to keep my sanity. So I have been totally dependent on your station, your wonderful coverage of you and the station, because otherwise I wouldn't know which end is up. I start listening at 5 o'clock with Morning Edition, and I do my things along the day in the car and whatever, listening for the updates, which would come 3 or 4 times an hour from the station, and it has been invaluable. In this area, you have no idea how wonderful your hurricane preparedness is. I also have a home in Beaufort, South Carolina, which is where Hilton Head is, and their attitude is when the evacuation order comes, which it did on Monday, only to be reversed by the governor on Tuesday, is they expect 100,000 people to leave. That's not realistic. They don't have any shelters, and there are many poor people who live in trailers. They have no way to take care of them, and you're supposed to get yourself, whether you're rich or poor, out of the area. And they tell you that they do hurricane drills every spring and information sessions. You're expected to take a week's worth of food with you because, as they say, no one can be expected to provide food, cash, and gasoline for 100,000 people. So when you have complaints in this area and you find your preparation lacking, you have no idea how lucky you are. Be very thankful.
Well, Susan, thank you so much for the call. And we're glad that you're safe, and we hope that your home down in South Carolina stays safe also. So we appreciate it.
The best part is when you mentioned your 84-year-old mother in Baltimore.
Yes.
Because mine is 94 and lives alone in Connecticut, and I worry about her whenever there's a hurricane headed up that way.
Absolutely.
And I think every time one of us tells people we still are caring for our elderly parents, we let people know that they are important and must be cared for and about.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Thank you so much, and enjoy your weekend, okay? Thanks for calling. We appreciate you. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. I want to say a special kudos to the staff here at WHRO because, and WHRO corporate, because everybody chips in and everyone does what they need to do in order to make sure that our listeners have the most up-to-date information as possible. I know you all heard my colleague Kathy Lewis actually talking to you from her car as she was taking her mother away from this area to make sure that she was safe. So people just do what they have to do. We have people who have stayed overnight here at the station to make sure that the TV side stays on, that the radio side stays on, and they're just dedicated. And so kudos to you guys for doing what you do. So what do you think? I mean, I'm pretty happy with all of the notifications and the things that came along. I would love to know what you think about the way that our area responded to this threat. And we were very, very blessed that it did not translate into anything worse than what we've already seen. And I know the flooding, for those of you who live in a flood area, that is not a fun place to be. But considering what could have happened to us, I think that we've been very, very blessed. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. So we got a call from someone on the Eastern Shore, and they were lamenting the fact that we had to cancel our show for next Friday, our live broadcast from the Barrier Island Center. Guess what? We're coming. We will be there. We have not canceled that show. We will definitely be live next Friday from noon until 1 at the Barrier Island Center on the Eastern Shore. And Lisa, what's the name of the website? Where should they go to register? I believe it's our website.
It's our website.
anotherviewradio.org. So if you go to anotherviewradio.org, there is a place for you to register. We want you to come out. We want you to see us live and be a part of our live studio audience. We're going to be talking about the Dewdrop Inn. It was a place on the Eastern Shore where African American could go and party and relax and listen to great music. And it was one of the only places on the Eastern Shore where at one point in time in history where blacks could go. So we're going to be talking about the history of this place and learning more about what it is doing now to continue to help the community. So come on out. Go to our website, anotherviewradio.org, and you'll be able to register.
WHRO.org/dewdrop.
Okay, or you can go to WHRO.org/dewdrop. So come on, register, come out, have fun with us. We'd love to have you. Also want to let you know that September is National Prostate Cancer Awareness Month, and there is a very special thing that is happening for prostate cancer survivors and their parent and their family. If you've been diagnosed with prostate cancer, you're invited to attend a prostate cancer continuing medical education course on Saturday, September the 29th. And these are the highest risk men are men who are of African descent, men whose father whose father or brother has been diagnosed with prostate cancer and older men. Now, this course was designed for primary care physicians and other frontline health providers, but if you are you've already been diagnosed and your family is already dealing with this, there's a special opportunity for you to come, especially since some of the guidelines have been changing for when you should start getting tested for prostate cancer. A lot of information, a lot of things that you need to know. So you can go to, I want to find the place to let you know where you can register. This is going to be held Saturday, September the 29th at the Marriott at City Center in Newport News. And call 446-6140, 446-6140 for more information about this prostate cancer, shared decision making about early detection, diagnosis, surveillance, and treatment. So just some more information about your health. So wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. We do want you to come out to the Dewdrop Inn. And Lisa, do we have any more phone calls? Or you said line one wanted to talk, they evacuated to an Airbnb?
Yes, she evacuated to an Airbnb, but she hung up. So I guess she felt like we were wrapping things up. So she...
Well, we still have time for a couple more phone calls. If you'd like to call, 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. So, Lisa, what did you do to get ready for the storm?
Spent way too much money. Unfortunately, I've opened everything that I bought, so, I can't take it back. But, at least I have things for next time that, they shouldn't, batteries and things like that I will have that will be available.
We did the same thing. Max and I, we now have lanterns and we have that are battery operated and we have flashlights and we've got, candles and things of that nature to be ready, and then also stocked up on food and so forth so that we will be ready for that. And you know what we did? We also got charcoal for a grill, because if the power had gone out and we weren't able to warm up food, then we would have to be grilling outside.
See, my mother, may she rest in peace, she was always about that whole gas stove thing. So I always can cook because I have a gas stove.
Okay, now we know to come to your house next time. Absolutely. So is that Emily from Pocosin? Let's take Emily's call real quick. Hi, Emily, you're on the air.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. I was just calling to let you all know that when we are in Zone A, and I have a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old and elderly in-laws that live near us. And when we got the evacuation notice, because of all the people we have, we decided to go inland to the Appomattox area. And we actually used Airbnb to find a very reasonable place. We rented a whole house for ourselves. But then when the storm shifted, of course, we decided to come back so we could be in our homes. Yeah.
What a great idea, though. How about that? Airbnbs, that was something that we didn't always have access to. So that's a great idea. Well, we're glad you're safe, and we're glad you're back in Pocosin. We're just about out of time, so we got to run. But thanks for the call, Emily. We appreciate it. So since it's such a rainy weekend, why not catch up on some of the Another View shows you may have missed? You can go to our website, anotherviewradio.org, and download any podcast you wish. And while you're there, please sign up for our eView newsletter. It's a once-a-week reminder of upcoming shows. Of course, we're on Facebook, and I'm on Twitter at Barbara Ham Lee. Next week, we will be live at the Barrier Island Center in, where is that located? What's the name of the town on the Eastern Shore? Oh, Lisa's mic is gone. Oh, well. Machapungo. There we go. Machapungo. I thought it was, but I wanted to double check. So we will be live there. Join us, please. Our theme music was composed and performed by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer. Todd Washburn is our audio engineer. And guess who answered our phones? Victor Bowen. He's back. Yay. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Stay safe, everyone, this weekend, and thank you so very, very much for listening to Another View.